Porter cable CF2600 pancake style air compressor. You see I've got it in a few pieces now. I have the motor here out of this casing. I'll show you how to do that in a second. The reason I'm in here is because my fan fell off. I was using this the other day. It started making a clinking noise, and the next thing I know, it stopped working altogether. The fan dislocated, and it was a very hot day. The motor kept running, and then it overheated. So if your fan breaks into pieces like this one did, the compressor will continue to run until it overheats, and at which case it will stop running. I'm going to show you in this video. Hopefully I have a replacement part for this that'll work. Even though it's from a different motor, hopefully it will work. I'll also show you another problem that can cause an intermittent condition, which is these brushes that you can also check. So let's get started. I'll put up a timestamp where you can skip ahead if you've already taken this apart, but I'll just show you how to take it apart in case you haven't done that yet. So first thing to do is on each side, right by the slides here, there's a Phillips fastener. Remove those. There's one. I'll flip it around, grab the other one. There's the other one right there. That's that one. And now what you can do, you can kind of see here, there's an area to slide. So we're going to slide this by moving the casing this way. Sometimes it's pretty difficult. You might have to give it a little whack. Since I've already had this off, you can see I was able to do it by hand. But if you have to give it a little whack, just, don't get too crazy. But once you have slid it, get this back so you can see. Once you have slid it some, you'll be able to just kind of rock it off like so. And then you can turn it to access these fasteners here. There is one here, two on the bottom, and then 1, 2, 3, and they should access this way. On this side, the screws should be going in this way. If somebody had it apart, they might be going in the opposite way, but try this way first. These are all going to be T25s. I know one of these, in my case, is an oddball Phillips, because I had to replace one of the fasteners. I'll just see what I can do. Yeah, that was probably the oddball there. There we go. And down here. They all should look like that. And over here. Then once you think you've got them all out loose, because they're so recessed, they might not want to come all the way out. You can use a magnetic tape on your screwdriver. Looks like I got it here. You can pull that out, and there they go falling. There's the motor. And then what I'm going to do is grab it, just pull it out like this, set this aside, and then I will move this so I can put this back down. Just mind the seal over here for, let's see if I can get this in a little better. There we go. There's a seal here for this tube, but don't go messing with it too much. So I just turned the motor here to get a little better position to service this. I'm going to have to remove this part of the fan that's still left on the shaft here. That's what we'll do next, but as a quick little overview here, you can see this is just an electric motor. We have a power coming in here that's spinning the shaft. We have this gear here on the other end of the shaft that turns this timing belt. This timing belt turns this crank sprocket. We have an offset here for this connecting rod going up to a little piston in a little cylinder to a little head, and that's what's compressing our air. So compressed air heats up, it's sent through this tube and stored in the tank. So in my case, because the fan went kaput, it didn't run for very long. It was a hot day. I was just using the compressor was running continuously because I was using it to blow some dust off of air filters and whatnot. And I heard some clinking noise, like, and then the clinking stopped and it shut off pretty quickly. So it's not going to run too long without the fan. It overheats pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and get started trying to remove this little piece here, and I'll see if the replacement fan that I got on Amazon will work for this. Before we do that real quick, I'll put up a timestamp. Skip ahead if you come in here and your fan is fine and you're still getting kind of an intermittent shutting off, especially if it's the motor shutting off right after you start it up. Skip ahead and I'll show you how to check out these brushes here. Here's the replacement part that I got on Amazon. I'll put that part number up. It was $8 and it's plastic. You can see it's a different design and I'm hoping it'll work, but we'll see. To get this off here, this remaining piece of the old fan, I tried putting a little PV blaster on there and tapping it. That didn't work, so I'm going to move to a torch. And there's a little bit of thunder and lightning going on outside, if you're having trouble hearing me. So let me get the torch going here. So obviously with the torch, make sure that you protect anything that you don't want to melt, like any of that wiring there or the housing there, which is plastic. I'm going to heat this up for a little bit, then try tapping it. Just going to use a punch. Be careful not to smack anything back here and crush it. Hopefully I'll get lucky. I'm going to give it a little bit more heat, but if this round doesn't work, I'm going to move to a gear puller to try to get that off, because I don't want to mess up anything inside the motor by banging on this too much. So you can see I've got the gear puller on. The torch is not working, but hopefully it works for you. Let's see if this will work here. So the gear puller is working. I got it to budge quite a bit there. In fact, it got it to budge enough that I got to use a spacer now, because I can't get that center in. It's not touching the shaft anymore, so I just cut this bolt, sacrifice this. This will be our new little spacer, and hopefully we'll be able to pull this off now. All right, hopefully this will do it. Almost. Oh, am I going to need a longer spacer? I am. Alright, got a little longer spacer on there, just a bolt, and maybe now we'll get lucky. Let's see. There we go. Alright, so there's the piece that I was pulling off there, and this is what's left of the fan, and I'm not going to be able to reuse this. So this will be the fan that I will try to use, and it's going to go on in this orientation, not this way. We want the curvature of the fans facing like so. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to try to just put this on as an interference fit. You can see there's splines here. There's also splines on the inside of the original steel fan. I'm hoping that it'll work for me to just push this on here, and there'll be just enough deformation in the plastic to these splines that'll keep it on there at least for a while. If I find that I have a problem, or if it starts to slip, or even an idea you might choose to do now, you can add a set screw. So what you would want to do is maybe drill, like let's say here, drill through here, and then drill through there, so that you have access to get a tool through to a small set screw, and then drill a corresponding spot on the shaft, just so you could put a little set screw in there. I might have to do that in the future. We'll see. I'm hoping that just pushing this on here will work. Before I put the fan on, I'll show what I was talking about earlier with the brushes, because it might be a little bit easier to see. The quick backstory on this compressor is that I got it for free. Somebody had thrown it away and left it by a dumpster, and I said, well, I'm going to grab that because I could at least use it for parts. I had a similar pancake compressor at home, and so when I brought it home, I plugged it in. It ran for a split second, and then it just shut right off. So I said, well, it's obviously still in working condition if I can figure out what's wrong with it. So I popped it open like you're seeing here, and in my case it ended up being that the brushes were broken. So what I mean here, to have a look at your brushes, Just disconnect this right here, just slides right off this spade, and then reach your finger or screwdriver in here to just kind of lift this little spring up, get it out of your way like that, and then the brushes will just pull right out. So there's one here, there's one on the other side, same spot. And in my case, what had happened, or I should say the person who previously owned it, they must have been like doing sheetrock and stuff a lot. They may have been a painter or something, because you can still see some of that dust. There was a lot of sheetrock dust on the inside of this when I first opened it up. And this was probably about 5 years ago, so it's gotten a lot of use since. What happened is that the brushes had just broken in two. So the carbon had fractured, and there was a smaller piece, like let's say something like that. And when the motor was off and it was, the two pieces were connected without a gap, there was obviously enough flow between the two that it would start up, but then as soon as a gap appeared from vibrations, then it would cut off. So that was the story. The solution was just removing the broken piece. So I just took the broken piece out, just took the piece that wasn't broken, slipped it right back in, plugged it in, and it started right up. So check your brushes, especially if your compressor has had a tumble. If the brushes are fractured, that will cause some intermittent conditions. So to put this back in, well, actually, let me get some measurements on this, because in case you're trying to find a replacement, I will also put up a part number that I think is appropriate for this particular model. Okay, so we'll call it about 8.2 millimeters by a little under 11 millimeter. So you can get something a little bit bigger and file it down to fit in there, or hopefully you can find something that's pretty close to that size. And then this just goes right back in like so. And then just push this onto the spade. And don't forget the little spring, because that's important to press that down as it wears, like so. So yeah, so check your brushes, because in my case, I got a free compressor from it. Now I'll try to tap this fan on. And like I said, I'm just going to try to see if I can get away without the set screw. When this goes on, it's going to go this way with the curvature, this curvature facing back towards the motor. It's not going to go on this way, it's going to go on that way. So what I'm going to do is slip it on, and I'm just going to try to keep it square, give it a few taps, and hopefully I get lucky. We'll see. If not, I'll be back in here with the drill and give it a little set screw. Let's see what I can do here. Alright, so far so good. That'll work. I'm just going to bring it about flush there. And we'll see how this performs. Now I'll do my best to try to show you how to get this motor back in the casing, but it is a little bit tricky. It requires a little bit of patience. Make sure that you have all 5 of these in their places. There's one here, 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 and then same spots on the other side. And then start with this panel, the one, or this side of the casing, the one with the warning label. Not this one, we'll do this one second. There's a reason for that. It has to do with the electrical cord. This side, the cylinder head, is going to go in this way. Alright, so see how I have it facing with the handle facing so. And then this will either be on this side or your other side. That comes out, so you can put it wherever you'd like. What I'm going to do is lift up here, and then these are going to align with some spots in the casing. You won't be able to see it the way the camera is. That's the best I can do, but I'll show you once I get it in how those are going to align. Okay, so now you can see I have those aligned there, there, and there. This up here, make sure that you haven't got it twisted. The Oerdecker clamp should be kind of facing up like that, the ear part, and then it'll fit in there. So now the part that you got to watch out for with the other casing, this has to run in a certain path, otherwise it's going to get tied up with the fan. So all I'm going to do next, I'll move the camera up a little bit. I'm just going to move this up here like that, and then we'll put the other side on. So that's what it looks like right now. This is going to have to fit in a certain path on the other side. So I'm just going to move the camera over this way so I can show you that. So now we'll grab the other side, and there's a spot right here, right there, where that cord has to fit. Otherwise it's going to get wrapped up with the fan. Then the other part of the cord, the square part, fits there. That's kind of apparent. So get this in here in a way where you're going to be certain that it's not going to get like that. It's not going to get tangled up with the fan. So I guess I'll just go maybe like that, and then get that lined up. You can't see, but I'm just pushing that cord in where I showed before. Just make sure that when you're doing this, you've got that lined up. And then once you're good, push it together, and I'll get those Torx fasteners in. So you might have to, mine's a little bit warped here, you might have to use a tool to kind of get that to line up, but you do want to be able to get it pressed together well. And then we can go ahead and get started with some of these fasteners. Again, those were the T25s that looked like that. I mentioned earlier that I've got an odd Phillips. I'm going to put that one down here just because I'll be able to see that it's a Phillips. The other ones I won't, they're too deeply recessed, but I'll be able to see it on this one at least. Hopefully you have all yours, you don't have to substitute any. If you do, just get some thread forming screws. Once you have those two, turn it, and then remember that the screws go in not this side, they don't go in that way, they should go in that way. Once you have all those, what was that, 5 fasteners in of the T27s, then we're just going to slide it back on. So this spot here and that spot there, that's going to go there and there. So just get it lined up and check it on both sides and push it in. Let's see. Okay. Not quite right. There we go. Alright. And then once you have it lined up, push it in. There it goes. Okay. Make sure that it's on there on each side. Check the other side. Yep, looks good. And then we just have those Phillips to lock the sliders. These were those Phillips, and those are going to go right here and then on the same spot on the other side. So everything is back together on mine. I don't like this kind of is like the plastic's a little strip there for those self-tapping screws. I don't really like that. So I'm probably going to go through with a real long fastener, just a long bolt that'll fit through there. And I'll put a washer and a nut just to keep this clamped, because I do carry it with this little handle spot there. So once you get yours together, turn it around and check it out. Make sure that your hose over here is not kinked. If it is and you don't feel like opening it back up to get in there, you can always pop that oidiker off, turn the hose, and then put a new oidiker on there. But everything's back together, so we'll go ahead and test starter and make sure she runs. So it's another hot day. It's in the 90s. We'll turn her on and make sure that she runs continuously. Gonna be loud. Alright, so everything looks good. I had a look in here just to make sure that the fan was not wobbling any, not trying to move out any, and it looks good. At least for now. Like I said, if I have to come back in later and add a set screw, then I'll do that. But I wasn't able to find the actual steel fan that originally came with this, so it looks like that plastic fan that is intended for other models will also, at least for a little while, work on this model. So I hope this video was helpful for you with your Porter cable or any of the other models that use this same kind of setup. Thank you for watching, and good luck with your repair.